Okay, welcome back everybody. I am Sarah. I am a new wildlife artist and currently I am working on a 70-foot mural in Wiarton. There's a few other videos on the channel about the mural. You can check those out. I'll link it in the cards. But today we are going to focus on painting realistic bears. So this whole video is just going to be dedicated to this cute little baby bear and the mama bear. So we have our time-lapse camera going in the background to record it, and then we're going to interject with some more details on my phone. So we're gonna go and get started on that. All right, we have poured paint, we have black, white, a brown that we've just been using and storing in a container for a lot of the project. And we also have a blue that I stored at some part, probably from when I did the water or something back there, that we're gonna use up as our shadow color, which is fun. So to start off painting the baby bear, we had previously blocked in the black color of both the baby and the mom, just mostly in black, and then the mom had a little bit of black and white on it. And this was just to kind of hold its place in the mural, and it acted as like a landmark for a while. So now we're gonna go and clean up the outline of the baby bear and get the head shape right, and then we're gonna start adding some of the fur details in. Okay, so it's getting to be that time where the light is kind of casting a direct shadow downwards, which makes it a little trickier to paint. But basically we are working on getting in some of the nose shapes and some of the fur around here. We're just adding a little bit of warm brown to the just underside of its eyes to kind of bring that out. There you go, you can kind of see it a little bit better. All right, so we have some more detail in the baby bear. We're probably gonna come back and fix up some of the details later, but you can kind of see what we look like if we shadow him a little bit. So yeah, because it's straight noon, it's a little hard with the lighting conditions to really paint it pretty accurately. So we're probably gonna come back to it in a few hours and do some touch-ups. But for right now, we are going to work on the big mama bear. You can see we've done some of the roughed-in of the nose. And yeah, we're gonna go and continue painting and get it really defined. So because of the texture of concrete, it's really hard to get a lot of the details in the fur. But basically we're kind of just making them a bit bigger strokes, and it kind of like hints at where fur is. So you want to still do things in clusters and try and just build up the textures kind of slower. But what I'm mostly paying attention to here is the overall coloration of the bear and how we really want to make sure it looks round, and that the part that stands out the most is going to be its snout. Yeah, so we'll put a little bit more highlight and scrap on its ears. People yell stuff from their car all the time. A guy just said nice work. All those dogs were barking. Go. I can get you a bit of an up-close video if I can coordinate myself. There we go. We are adding in some little dots to the nose texture. So we're gonna work on the nose a bit and slowly build this up. This will be harder to catch in the time lapse, so I thought I'd zoom in on it a little bit for you here. So we are trying to add as much kind of fur detail as we can. Just the side of the brush here. So this whole area of the forehead is really highlighted. So the light's kind of shining down on its head. So that's why it's this kind of light gray-brown color, even though it's a black bear. But it's so difficult to paint fur on concrete. And I was just reflecting to myself and laughing because I spend so much care when I prep my birchwood canvases so that they are as smooth as possible. Like, I spend so much time sanding and layering gesso on these things that it's just so funny to me trying to do fur on like absolute bumpiest surface ever. Murals. But I mean, I think it's looking pretty okay from far away, and that's the goal. So there's definitely a maximum level of detail you can really get to when you're painting on concrete. And what I'm really trying to look for, if you can kind of get rid of the sun flare in there, is making sure that there's not too many areas like this where you can't really see, like where there's a bunch of like dark speckles in it, because I think that just kind of looks bad and poorly blended. So it's a fine line of trying to get like thinner lines, but then also trying to get it like worked into the concrete a bit more so that it doesn't look super speckly far away. That may just be a technical detail, but anyway, some random thoughts while we're painting this part of the bear and getting the detail in. Yeah, and it has some nice highlights kind of right above its eye, which is nice. This one kind of comes up a bit. Yeah, we'll paint the eyes soon. Yeah, so that's kind of working. So we're just using a filbert brush. It's got a longer handle, which is what I like using for murals, so you can kind of reach more places. But yeah, I think it's it says it's a number 8. I don't know. It's about 1/2 inch. We'll go by that if you were brush curious. Yeah. So it's kind of just going back and forth in both directions to really make sure that you get a lot of paint in those little cracks, nooks and crannies. So I'm basically painting the entire bear with this one paintbrush, if I wasn't clear with that. And I just like that because it simplifies things that you have to think about. So try it, paint with just one paintbrush. Really work the paint in that one. Great. Now we're going to take it up another color tone and add a bit more white and a bit more brown in there. So now we're on the next layer. And it's the same kind of process. So just really trying to make this top edge of the head really stand out from the rest of it. Yeah, you can go back and kind of got good contrast. So we need to work a bit more up here. One thing I find so satisfying about painting furry animals is doing the really fluffy edge that's in front of the background, and especially with this nice like dark black paint on the brighter background. I just had so much fun doing the outside feathering of the bear. This area was interesting because it's pretty smooth concrete other than this ridge that's kind of really running right down the length of the edge of this bear. So it was kind of interesting to paint around that, but I'm very softly with a well-loaded paintbrush dragging the edges out. So right now I'm kind of doing a bit of a blurring of the edge to get rid of the hard contrast of it. Then I'm with a fresh paintbrush, I'm really just kind of dragging it out to get those long wispy pieces of fur. And when I blocked in the bear, I purposefully had the background leaves come into this space. I wanted the bear to take up a little bit so that I had this extra room to give the bear this volume in fluffiness and texture without making the legs too wide. So it's a bit of planning ahead of your color. You want to cut the background in a bit so you're able to get this bit of fur to do. So you're able to get this bit of fur that's expanding into that space. But this was satisfying to paint, super satisfying to watch me paint. There was a bunch of loud trucks, so I decided to re-record the audio for you. But yeah, and we're going to jump ahead a little bit here to when I'm doing more of the definition of the legs soon. So it's lots of just little strokes of fur, and it kind of feathers out naturally by itself to help create this texture. So we have more of a brown, you know, gray color in here. So that it's a bit warmer than the blue gray over here. So hopefully that'll help add some depth perspective. The intense sun flare. But yeah, I don't think we'll finish this today. So this video is going to be continued tomorrow. Not the video, but you know, when I edit it all together. Painting will be over 2 days, is all I'm trying to say. But yeah, we are almost going to wrap it up because we have a family dinner to go to, which is exciting. And it's one of my favorite parts about moving back to Ontario and painting full time is getting to do all of the family fun activities. So we're gonna go see my little baby niece, and they're visiting up this weekend. Should be exciting. I'm not worried about the bottom edge too much because I'm gonna put more plants there. But we gotta get the bear in first, and then the plants will go over top of it. All right, so this is as far as we got our bears today. If I can kind of shade the lens there, you can see it a bit better. So we got the baby bear over there, and we got the mama bear. We need to do the eyes and a bit more details of the fur work, but from far away, it's looking pretty good. So this scene is gonna be super exciting. I love it. I'm also going to re-record this little bit of audio in here so you can see that we are kind of keeping the tone of the bear, and I'm not trying to paint fur in every little detail of the bear. We're really just doing a 1 or 2 layer version of how I typically paint fur. If you've come here from my other wildlife videos, like the tiger time lapse was one of the first videos I put out on my YouTube channel, and I really go into how to paint hyper realistic fur in many layers with transparent paint. This is kind of taking the first 2 steps of that to get the detail level that we want on concrete here. So we're just kind of very selectively with our placement, creating 1 or 2 lines, an inch-ish, and using that to get the direction and the length of the fur. And we're doing this all in 1 color and then coming back and adding just a little bit of a lighter color to the area, and that's helping it look nice and fluffy. So it's just 1 or 2 strokes at a time in sometimes one direction, sometimes both directions if I'm really trying to fill in holes of the concrete to get it a little, you know, into the darker pits of the concrete and not be a big black void in the middle of a nice fur line. Working around the concrete surface was such a fun challenge for what I had known to be painting fur and what I had figured out on my, you know, very perfectly smooth wood canvases. So it's really interesting doing something like this where you're just trying to get enough detail that it looks good from far away. And it's a really good practice in how to simplify your vision for something into the bare minimum that's necessary to still get a really intense, like, wow factor impact. I also mentioned before that this bottom edge of the bear is going to be covered up by foliage. The other green leaves and stuff are going to extend into the front of the bear. I wasn't sure how far up I was going to take that, so I did end up painting the fur a little bit down its legs. Some of it will get covered up, but it's kind of keeping it, doing a little bit more work now to keep that creative choice open for when I go in and add all that in a future day end video. And yeah, the last thing I really want to highlight to really help get this bear looking 3D is the contrast. So the center of the leg, the center of its chest, that's the area that I'm having the darkest and the lightest shadows and highlights be, so that it helps create this rounded definition with its contrast. And the brownish gray color is only on the front legs and chest and head of the bear. The main body of the bear is a cooler gray brown, which is helping create that kind of depth of field. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video of me painting these two gorgeous bears of our Wiarton mural. We are going to end with some clips from next week's video where we continue painting the mural. So I hope you enjoy this sneak peek footage and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the video next week. We'll see you soon.